Hey, it's AP, and today I'm working on my Scout Trooper flight suit. Check it out. As some of you know, I am in the 501st Legion as Darth Vader, and over the years I've toyed with the idea of getting a new costume so I could, do other things than just be the Dark Lord of the Sith. And so I decided several months ago that I was going to start the journey to produce my Scout Trooper costume for the 501st Legion. And for those of you who don't know, the Scout Trooper made its first appearance in Return of the Jedi on Endor, fighting the Ewoks. And if you saw my last couple of videos about the ATST, you know I have a thing for Return of the Jedi. So it just made sense to do a Scout Trooper. I already have the helmet, and you can see the unboxing of that video on the channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And I give a little bit of a history of the Scout Trooper and all that good stuff. So there's more for you to get your Scout Trooper fill there. Now I need to start working on the actual costume. And one of the first things that I want to do is produce the flight suit. The flight suit is kind of the underwear of the Scout Trooper.
I just made you say underwear.
Normally a flight suit is just a flight suit. You go and you pick one up, like so. It's what you get to work in a garage or wherever. We go to murder kids at a campground. But yeah, it's just a flight suit. It's just a regular black flight suit. This brand is called Red Kap. And I bought this years ago. I forget why I bought it. Oh, it was because I was going to do the Scout Trooper. I've been planning on this for like 6 years now. Anyway, but normally a flight suit is just a flight suit, but not when it comes to Star Wars. No, of course not. The folks over at ILM had to do weird stuff to everything to make it difficult for those of us 30 years later that want to dress up like our favorite plastic spacemen.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
So what's unique about the flight suit for the Scout Trooper is that it has these suede patches on the inner thighs and on the bum area over here. And so I have to put suede patches on this. Now, my sewing skills are awful at best. I'm just not a sewer. But because I'm AP, I felt it was necessary to actually make my own stuff. So we're gonna give this a try. There is a lot of information on the Pathfinders forum. The Pathfinders is the official detachment for the 501st Legion for Scout Troopers. There's a lot of interesting vernacular in this group. But there are a lot of great tutorials and guides on how to actually pull this off. So I've pulled up a few, and I'll leave a link to the ones that I've followed in the description. So if you're doing this, you can follow along as well. And hopefully with this video and their instruction, you'll be able to have a full picture of what you need to do. All right, so first, let's grab some suede. I found it challenging to find what specific type of suede to get. And so I will leave a link in the description to what I got, as well as the official millimeters or whatever it is to get. I picked this up from Tandy Leather. I believe it was like $30 for one sheet, and this is plenty of suede to get you what you need, including the 4 pieces of the thighs, as well as the butt flap. Yes, there's a butt flap. I went with suede because suede is what is required to get to Lancer status. And Lancer status in the 501st Pathfinders is like the highest level of costume accuracy you can get. If you don't want that or don't care about that, you can absolutely use faux suede, which is obviously better for the animals out there, but sorry animals. All right, so now first I have to figure out where the patches, the suede patches, go. And to do that, I need to actually put on the jumpsuit, the flight suit. So I'm gonna turn this off so I can put that on because I don't want you to see my stuff, all right? All right, apologies for the terrible lighting, but this is what the flight suit looks like, and it's a little baggy, so I'm gonna have to take the legs in. Like, it is really baggy. That's a lot of fabric right there. So I'll be tapering the legs a little bit so they're a little bit more form-fitting than they currently are now. Look at all these pockets. All right, so in looking at the CRL, which I have on my screen over here, and I'll put a picture of it. The CRL is the Costume Reference Library, and each of the Star Wars costumes has a CRL within the 501st, so it provides all the direction that you need to create a approvable costume for the 501st. And so that's what I'm using as my guide here. So in looking at the image, it looks like the suede patches are from like the crotchal area to right below the knee armor. And actually the knee armor is covering the suede on the inside. So I think if I use my knee armor as the guide, I got fancy tailor's chalk. You don't need tailor's chalk. You can just use chalk. Or if you have safety pins or something, but anything to mark where you need to create your template. So, it's upside down. Also, according to the CRL, the right side to have this is where the crescent moon or the half moon is facing up. So when you sit, see, pretty cool, huh? All right, so this is where my knee is and sits. So I'm just gonna mark right there. Now that I know where the knee armor rests, I can continue sketching out the shape of the riding patches. Just follow the CRL images. I'll leave a link to the CRL in the description so you have easy access. Then repeat on the other leg. This looks okay, and I'll straighten things out a bit when I get on to pattern this, so let's move on to the backside. The suede lays a little different on the backside, so again, just follow the CRL images and you should be okay. To create the pattern, I measured my sketches and then transferred them to rosin paper. I'm not sure if this is the best way to make patterns, and it did take me a couple of times to get it right, but I was mostly satisfied with the end results. If you have a better way to make patterns, then let me know in the comments below. Now it's time to throw caution to the wind and do some cutting. There's two sides to suede. The soft velvety side is what you want facing out. The rough side should be facing the back. Just keep that in mind before you start cutting. I traced my pattern with the chalk and labeled it so I knew what side this was going to. This one is BR for back right. Then just cut the suede with some good old-fashioned fabric shears. Just repeat until you have all 4 of your pieces. Okay, now that I have my patches cut out, I can move on to ripping the seams of my pants so I can get this into the sewing machine. And where is my seam ripper? I have scissors. There it is. And this is probably one of the easier parts of this whole process. Pretty much, you just kind of go on the outside seam and open it up. And actually I have to turn this inside out to be able to do that. So let's do that. There we go. There we go. Boom. Look how big those legs are. Okay. So yeah, we are just going to, now my pal suggested I take apart the entire pant and sew the patches kind of embedded into the seams, the inside seams. That's a lot of work and I don't want to do it. And from what I'm told, all you have to do is sew these on. You don't have to, you know, they don't have to be like super tailored. So I'm just going to just sew these right on top. But to be able to do that, I need to kind of access the pants. So let's see, how's the best way to do this? You don't have to watch me do this. It's okay. After opening up the pants with a seam ripper, attach your first patch to the flight suit using pins. I used the inner seam of the pants as my guide to line up the patch. Using a sewing machine with a heavy-duty or leather needle and some heavy-duty black thread, I carefully ran these through with about a 1/4 inch margin, seam? Whatever the distance between the edge of the suede and the stitches. I gave it a 1/4 of an inch breathing room. Sure, we'll call it that. Anyway, just go slow and steady, making sure to backstitch when you start and end so you have a nice, tight stitch. This sucks. But I have all my patches on. I don't have the elastics on just yet. I'm going to figure that out next. I have my butt flap. So now let's figure out how to put in the elastic banding and where that should go. Maybe next time we'll just buy. Bought by AP. Now that the patches are in place, I can put in the 2-inch elastic webbing on each side of the hip. According to the CRL photos, they seem to sit a couple inches down from the top of my inseam. Using my tape measure, I measured where the top of my elastic should go. Then I'll put a pin right here, and then a pin right here. Then you repeat on all 4 patches accordingly. Then I used my trusty seam ripper to open up the holes. To get the length of the elastic, I just used my tailor's tape to measure the distance between the midpoint of the front of my leg to the midpoint of the back of my leg, and then added about 2 inches for safety. These should not be droopy at all, but a nice and tight fit. Alright, so back at the sewing machine. Make sure you do a back stitch when you start, and then sew it up. And ta-da! We have our first elastic strap-in. It does get a bit tricky when you sew the backside because the leg is still open, so you have lots of fabric to contend with. Just go slow and, again, be patient. To be honest, this is probably the easiest sewing part of the whole flight suit project. So I have the bands on now, which is great. So the only thing that's left to do is to take in the pants. And I hear this is actually super easy because all I have to do is turn the pants or turn the flight suit inside out, find a taper that I'm comfortable with. So right now, I mean, look at how wide these bottoms are. This is, there it is. Okay. It's 11 inches. 11 inches. Oh my God. All right. So that means that the bottom is 22 inches. That is a big loose bottom, especially considering my ankles are half that, 10 inches. So if these are 11 and if this is 22 inches, 11 inches, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find a pair of pants that I like that fit me well, and I'm going to go use that as a template. So give me a minute. All right. These are a pair of nice pants. And they fit me okay. I mean, I lost a lot of weight after I bought them, but let's see. These ones are 7.5 inches. Okay. So you know what? I'm going to cut this down to 7.5 inches. So let me take you to the bed, which is my work table, and I'll show you how to taper or take in the legs. I folded the legs together at the seam, marked the bottom at 7.5 inches, and then I put a pin there. Now, from what I understand, when you're tapering legs, you typically start at the bottom and then end your taper about 3 inches above the knee. But because I'm difficult, I went all the way up to the hip area. I just drew a chalk line, then pinned all the way to the taper end. Now we can head back over to the sewing machine and run a stitch all the way up. All right, let's check it out. Here's my suede patches. And don't worry about this little flap here. It's going to be covered by the diaper thing. I have my rubber band. Okay, and I have this nicely tailored, actually it might be a little too tight. That's actually okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay. Okay. So now I have to do the other leg, and I believe this flight suit will be complete. Oh my God! And here it is. My flight suit is completed. I have my patches sewn on. I have my elastic bands sewn on. I have my back patches on there as well. And then ye ol' butt flap is there too. So now it's complete, and I can move on to other fun parts of this project, like sewing the cummerbund and codpiece and a bunch of other things that I have to sew now. There's a lot of sewing involved with this project. So like I said at the beginning, I'm a very basic sewer. I don't know all the tips and tricks, and there's lots of people out there that do. Definitely check out the Pathfinder forums and the tutorials of those who came before me who put these together. I learned a lot from them, and I will leave links to those tutorials in the description below so you can follow along with them. But what I'm trying to show you is that even if you have the most basic of sewing skills, you can do this too. Is it perfect? Not really, but according to my friends at the Pathfinder, all you really need to have are the patches sewn on. They don't have to be perfectly seamed in and with transparent and hidden stitches and all that stuff. They just have to be present. And so with some time, patience, and a little bit of a learning curve through the tutorials, you can get this done too. It wasn't that hard. It was just an exercise in patience. Are you a sewing aficionado? Do you have some pointers that you can share with those who are watching this video as well? Well, leave them in the comments. Help us get stronger as a community in our sewing skills. Please, maybe I'll learn something too. I know I will learn something too. There's many more pieces to go, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can follow along on my Scout Trooper journey as I get it to submission into the 501st. If you want to see some more of my Scout Trooper build, well, check out the unboxing of my Altman Scout Trooper helmet up here. And if you want to see the unboxing of my Studio Creations armor, check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.